Thank you. Hi, everyone. Afternoon. I'm hoping that if you're sat here on purpose, not just sheltering from the rain, that you have probably got big ambitions that you're trying to realize in marketing, but you might be struggling for some reason. Got people in the business who are standing in your way. And if that sounds like you, you're in the right place. We're going to solve that together in 15 minutes. My name's Claire. Enough about me. We've not got much time. So what you're going to hear today are some headlines. We're going to introduce some concepts. And then what you'll see, I'll try and remember to point them out as we go through. You'll see some QR codes dotted throughout the presentation. So as we're talking and introducing some concepts, behind those QR codes are going to be resources that dig a lot deeper, get into the detail of what we're talking about. So I highly recommend you follow those links, bookmark those resources. If you miss any, just come and find me afterwards. We'll have a chat. But what we're going to talk about is how we build a plan which breaks through the performance plateau, how we do so in such a way that gets everybody in your business aligned around one vision that the plan delivers on, but crucially keeps everyone accountable and honest for how we're going to get there. And then how we're going to continue that cycle of learning and evolution, that virtuous cycle of improvement through a robust approach to measurement. Some of these might sound a bit fundamental, and that's on purpose, and here's why. I was having a conversation a couple of years ago with a new client that I'd just onboarded, and this is an agency long before the one I work at now. So we'd just done a successful pitch, onboarding this agency. There I am chatting to this performance client, and I am very excitedly talking him through all the pitch, thinking, isn't it marvelous, and here's how we're going to actually start bringing that to life on your account. Here are all the tests I want to run, yada, yada. And he stops me and says, hey, yeah, love your energy and everything, but it sounds like that is going to negatively influence our PPC efficiency, and so that's just not going to work. And I was initially thought that he'd misunderstood me because this is the head of performance at a massive brand, massive advertiser, and so, yeah, like in the short term, it might have a small impact on this very discrete efficiency number, but ultimately I'm looking at what's driving the business, and I want to move total efficiency forward. I'm thinking about this holistically. So I was like, no, if we run this test, and he stopped me again and said, I do understand what you're saying, but we report on PPC figures to the board monthly. And any fluctuation in that number is going to stress them out. So I'm really sorry. It's just how we've always done things. It's not going to work. I cannot stress enough how big of a brand this is. And actually, when I was practicing this talk, I can't tell you who the brand is, but somebody said to me, you have to give some kind of clue, because otherwise people just think you're making it up to tell a point. I am trying to make a point. But if I say that this brand is to banking what Sainsbury's is to FMCG, and that's as far as I'll go. So like a brand that you would consider to be a pretty sophisticated advertiser, getting stuck chasing their tails with thinking that is isolating the performance team from the rest of the marketing team, that is warping their decision-making with weird, misleading insight, and ultimately actually standing in the way of what's going to deliver for the business and actually help them grow. And the reason I'm telling you this story is I can already see a few people nodding, but if it can happen to a massive brand like that, it could happen to any one of us. And so you might recognize some of the characters, some of the situations in that story, and if you do, we're going to figure out how to solve that together. So this is one of the big pushbacks that I hear when we talk about evolving our marketing plan. It's stuff like this. We can't lose sight of what's driving the day-to-day, particularly if it's a performance-focused brand. We've gotten used to that consistency of custom that we've relied on performance to deliver for us, and so it's pretty scary to try and shift that lens away from the trees and onto the forest, if you like. But even more so when we're talking about shifting investment from stuff that we've seen work to stuff that we're not sure about and is unproven. And that's kind of fair, but we've all heard of this, right? Performance plateau. We all go on LinkedIn and stuff, and I'm sure other people are talking about it here at this festival. Performance plateau is the risk that we have when typically we take too short a position on what marketing is delivering for the business. So when we're solely focused on, my goodness, this is a big screen. When we're solely focused on how to get people over the line, so to speak, and not on what happens once everybody is over that line, well, the performance plateau happens when the tactic that we become reliant on, and this is going to be one of the most obvious things I say all day, we do not have an infinite pool to fish in when we're bringing customers into our business. So once we've exhausted that pool, what happens? Demand dries up. That tactic that we've become reliant on is not delivering for us anymore because it's become obsolete. And that foundation that we built with performance suddenly becomes very shaky. Panic ensues. And some of you might be sitting there thinking, yeah, but like 60-40 and stuff, and the chart that kind of goes a bit like that, and we balance sales activation with brand building. Yes, definitely we do. But those principles are broad and general on purpose. So how do you actually apply broad thinking and generalized approaches to the very specific challenges and nuances that you experience as your brand in your category? I like to think of it in this way. So if you deconstruct growth, if you tear it apart and hold the two key components in each hand, in the one hand you'll have demand, how many people want the thing that you're selling, or something like it. And you'll have availability. How good are you at fulfilling that demand to the people who want it? How visible are you? How price competitive? Is your transaction process seamless, et cetera, and so on? And if you can solve for those two things, then you stand a pretty good chance of solving for growth. If you can quantify those things, go one step further and quantify them, then you can actually start to map them and then start to see much more clearly how you need to prioritize your efforts to drive the greatest impact and deliver on growth. And what I mean by this is, if you are a very small brand, maybe you're new to market in an already well-established, very busy category, the job that you need to do to deliver for growth is going to be very different to the market leader in that category. And that market leader in that category is going to need to do different things to a market leader in a smaller category where they've already saturated the market. So the link behind that goes to more detail. It's a webinar, please bookmark it. But this is going to help you. This kind of thinking is going to help you plot the most efficient route to sustainable growth. So let's imagine we've done that, figured out what the fastest routes to growth are, and we've built a marketing plan around it, which solves for it. How do we then get the rest of the business aligned around that vision and how we're going to deliver? The reason that I got stressed out a minute ago about PPC efficiency and a couple of years ago about the same thing was because that is no sort of metric to be making big business decisions based on. That is a media objective. It is not what's driving the business. And so to hear a big organization like that get stuck on a completely irrelevant KPI, I'm not saying it's not important, it is, but it has a very specific and discrete level of influence versus this big thing up here, which we should all be pointing towards. So when we are articulating how our marketing plan is going to deliver for us, we need to be doing so with relevant and impactful objectives that actually generate the right influence at the right point every step of the way. And we start with what we want success to look like at the business level, then what we think marketing success needs to look like to positively influence that, and then what success in media needs to look like. And again, this is an obvious thing to say, it's got to be in that direction, not the other way around. And then if we're talking about an evolved marketing plan, a sophisticated marketing plan, usually we're talking about influencing customers at multiple points along their journey. So we might have different jobs to do at different stages of the funnel, different mindsets, for example, and then different media objectives as a result of that. And again, we've got to be clear and distinct with what is doing what, because this one up here, the top orange one, may very well have an impact on this bottom blue one, but that's not its job. It's doing the job of that thing up there. So we have to be very specific and strict with our stakeholders about what is going to be influencing what in our marketing plan and why. And if we do that, then we can then format it into this beautiful-looking KPI framework so we can clearly see across the whole of the marketing plan and for everybody in the business what we aim to achieve overall, and then how all of the composite parts are going to individually deliver and contribute to the success of that plan overall. Now here comes our CFO saying, yeah, it all sounds good and the logic checks out, but I think you're asking me to invest in things that I'm not sure about that are unproven. I'm not sure about that. So this is where we're going to build a robust experimentation framework underneath that marketing plan so that we're not leaving anything up to chance. And here is where we're going to prove out all of our hypotheses that have shaped everything that has come in the marketing plan, which might suggest, for example, that increasing reach does actually increase awareness, or that this creative execution really does move the needle on brand perception. So we're leaving nothing up to chance. We're making sure that we have confidence in the tactics that we're deploying and that they are actually delivering in the way that we think they are, and that it's having the overall net positive impact on the business needles that we're trying to move. So the final point is about how we build a measurement approach which allows us to facilitate that continuous cycle of learning and evolution and keep progressing our marketing plan in years 2 and 3 and beyond, keeping you ahead of the curve. I like that. So I personally am not going to stand here and talk to you about the degradation of cookies. You've got plenty of other people at this festival who can have that conversation with you. But I did just want to spend like 1 minute talking about the hand-wringing that is going on about the effect on attribution. Attribution has always been a very blunt instrument, and what the loss of cookies is revealing is that we were applying it too broadly and trying to get it to answer the wrong questions. The problem is not with cookies. The problem is with attribution and the way we're applying it. So what we actually want to be doing as we're evolving our marketing plan to be holistic and diverse with different tools, different instruments performing different tasks, is we want to evolve our measurement approach in the same way, equally diverse, equally holistic, with equally individual solutions, taking different viewpoints and giving us a much more well-rounded view on not just how individual elements of the plan are contributing into individual success, but actually how all of those elements are delivering a total contribution to the total success of the marketing plan. And it's this kind of thinking that is going to leave us with a much more robust, a much more confident approach to a future-proofed marketing plan that we can continue to learn from in years to come. I said that was the last point, but there is one more thing. If we're talking about stakeholders, usually we're talking about human people. So there's an element of human psychology in this that I'm definitely not an expert in, but I thought I'd share a framework that's worked for me in the past. And again, you might have come across something like this before, assigning colors to personality types, but crucially, thinking about the way that those color personalities like to receive information. So you might have, for example, an investor or an MD who's very red, just likes the detail and the facts, very different to your CFO who might be very blue, likes all of the detail and all of the rigor and the logic. Your founder might be a very flamboyant yellow person, loves the storytelling. If you follow all of the steps that we've just covered in the last 10 minutes or so, you will have the breadth of information to be able to stretch your argument across any and all of these personality types. So whatever the case may be, however you need to make your case for your evolved marketing plan to the breadth of stakeholders that exist in your business, follow these steps, follow those links, read those resources, come and chat to us. You should have everything you need at your fingerprints to do so successfully. One more for luck. Thank you very much. If you've missed anything, follow that link, get in touch. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the festival.